If I lost everything and had to start over with $0, here's how I would do it. The first thing I would do is I would pay attention to what I don't have. I have no money, I have no connections, I have no reputation, but also I have nothing to lose, which is a very important part of this entire journey. So I'm not worried about cringe. I'm not worried about being offended. I'm not worried about my friends thinking I'm weird. I got nothing. And so if I want to be something, then I got to go and I got to do something about it. And the way that I would do it is what I call the 3 C's. Now, the first thing I would do is I would get on the internet and I would create accounts on a certain number of platforms, and I would fully focus on creating content. I'd pick a very specific topic and I would create the content, not because I want the biggest audience possible, but because I'm trying to reach a very specific type of audience. Now, the thing I would focus the most on right now is AI consultants. Now, why is that the thing that I would focus on? Because that's where all the money is flowing. You don't gotta be a genius. You don't have to be the first person to ever create a reusable rocket or be someone that cures cancer. Those things are great, but instead, if I had nothing and I needed to become something in a very short period of time, let's say 5 years or so, I wanna go where I know there's tons of money flowing and there's a big imbalance. There's lots of demand. There's a ton of business owners. They're trying to figure out, what is AI? How does it work? How should I use it in my business? What could it help in terms of saving on expenses? How can I make more revenue or profits with it? There's a lot of questions, and these businesses have a lot of money at stake. And so if you can show up and solve their problem for them, then you're likely to get paid. But in order to be able to show up and solve their problem, you first gotta prove to them that you know what you're doing. You gotta get on their radar. You gotta make sure that when they go check you out, that they wanna work with you. So that's where the content comes in first. That's the first C. The thing I would do is I'd get on Substack, I'd get on Twitter, and I would create some sort of YouTube, or I'd get on a podcast. And the reason I'd start there is because I'm not trying to just go viral with a bunch of young kids. Instead, I'm trying to be consumed by the business owners. They're reading long form. They're on Twitter talking about their business, or they're listening to podcasts when they're working out or driving to work. And so that's the platforms that I'd focus on, and I would just start creating a ton of content. The more content, the better. I'd be talking about what is AI, how do business owners use it, any type of content that is gonna resonate with this crowd. I want them to see I am an expert, I know what I'm talking about, and if you work with me, I'm gonna solve your problems. So the first is content. Now the second C is consult. And the reason why I would consult is because it is a high cash flow type of business. When you're doing this, you're not worried about long sales cycles. You're not worried about, hey, can I go build a widget or take on supply chain risk or have to go write a bunch of software? You can literally talk to a business owner on Monday and you could be started work on Tuesday and get paid by Friday. That's how fast this can happen. And so when you have speed and you have high earning potential, that's where you can really start to jack up your cash flow. And I'd go to these business owners and I basically would target the middle market. I don't want to work with businesses too small because they don't have enough money to pay me. But I also don't want to try to go work with Walmart and Amazon because they're too big and they're going to take too long. Instead, I want to focus on businesses that maybe have somewhere between 25 and 100 employees. They likely are making good cash flow and so they got money to pay me, but they also probably have enough complexity where AI could actually be valuable. And so what I would do is I would create an entire process. I'd say, here's how I intake you, here's how I evaluate what's going on, here's how we match your problems to the AI products that are out there, here's what my team does to help you integrate these products, here's how we measure the success, and then here's how I get paid. And I would show up with an entire system. I would say to the first business owner, you don't have to pay me. I'm gonna do this completely for free. And the reason that I'm gonna do it for you for free is that I wanna prove this works and I want you to agree to be my case study. So the first person you do it for free, and once you get that case study, then you go to all the other businesses and say, hey, do you know XYZ business down the road? Look what I did for them. I increased their revenue by 200% last month, or I decreased their cost by 10% last month. The second you get a case study, now you're on the map. You're already creating the content so people know top of funnel, but then when you show up with the case study, that's the closer. A case study is a closer, and so once you have that, you're in business. Now, the way that I would price this is I would look to try to get paid somewhere between $10,000 and $50,000 per client. The reason is because it's a big enough number where I can start to compound cash quickly, but it's not a big enough number where all of a sudden a business starts to say, I may not have that cash. I got to go to a committee. I got to get some sort of approval to go do this. You want it to be an easy decision, but still a decision that's going to drive real meaningful revenue for you. And so if you start to do that math, let's say that you're simply charging $25,000 per client. If you get one client per week, now you're making 100 grand a month. You're making over $1 million a year. And so right there is exactly what you want to do with the second C, consult. You basically want to get into a mid-market business, you want to charge them a reasonable fee, and then you want to show results. And the more results you show, the faster that flywheel is going to start and the more clients you're going to be able to get. So once you've started content, then you're consulting. What do you do with all the cash? That's where the third C comes in. It's compounding. And so what you want to do is you want to live as far below your means as possible. I don't care if you got a roommate. I don't care if you got to take public transportation. You got nothing. There's no one to flex on. There's no one to impress. So take all that cash flow that you're driving from your consulting business and start stacking it into an investment portfolio. If you do that over 5 years, not only are you benefiting from all the cash flow coming from your consulting business, but now you're actually benefiting from the compounding that's happening in your investment portfolio. So it starts with content, then you monetize with consultation, and then you stack your cash in an investment portfolio and allow it to compound. Those 3 C's will make you a multi-millionaire in 5 years. And the reason I know this is because I had quite literally started my career doing something similar. When I was building my first company, I was getting paid no money. I literally didn't have revenue. I didn't raise any money. I was just starting out. I still needed money to live. So what did I do? I would go to small businesses and I would say, hey, do you need a website? Pay me $5,000 and I'll build you a brand new website. How did I learn to build websites? I'm not a coder. I didn't go to school for computer science. What I did is I went and I watched YouTube videos on how to build WordPress sites. They weren't the best sites, but they weren't the worst sites. They were better than what the small business had. And because I priced it appropriately, $5,000 was meaningful, but it wasn't nearly enough to break the bank. I had a bunch of small businesses that thankfully said, you know what, I'll give you a shot. And so I was able to start to make money on my side hustle by building websites, which allowed me to work on my real business, which was the startup that I had. And so you can do the exact same thing by now not going and building websites. Those are too easy. It's too saturated. There's too many agencies. There's too many people chasing that opportunity. Instead, go where the money's flowing and go where the problems are. And right now, for business owners, that is, what do I do about AI? How do I use it inside my business? If you can figure out how to solve their problem, that's how you're gonna make a lot of money. And again, if you don't know how to do it, get on YouTube, go watch some videos, learn how to use these products and services, and then go and start implementing it into these businesses. So the 3 C's. Content, consult, compound. If you're able to do those 3 things and you work hard and you drive results for business owners, you'll be a millionaire before you know it. Now that's the path I would take. Other people may have a completely different approach, so drop a comment and let me know what you would tell people starting out with 0, how they could become a millionaire. If you're one of those people who has 0, read through the comments. There's gonna be a bunch of ideas there, and that's the beauty of this platform. Make sure you drop us a follow, and I'll see all of you next time.